James stood in the hallway, holding a duffel bag. Emily watched him from the kitchen, leaning against the door frame. Her stomach tightened into an icy knot. She knew this day would come, felt it in her gut, but clung to the hope it wouldn't happen. It did. Before we continue, please write in the comments which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy listening. "I'm leaving," James said in a low voice, avoiding her gaze. Emily stayed silent. She noticed his trembling hands, the way he shifted nervously from foot to foot. Over the years of their marriage, she had studied him like the back of her hand, every wrinkle around his eyes, every mole on his back. Now, watching this rattled man, she knew she was losing him forever. "To whom?" she finally managed, trying to keep her voice steady. James hesitated, staring off to the side as if searching for words. Emily held her breath. "To Sarah," he whispered, head bowed. The words hit Emily like a punch to the gut. Sarah, the young intern from his office. Emily always sensed Sarah looked at James differently, but she pushed those thoughts away, refusing to believe them. "How could you?" she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "How could you do this to us? To Ethan?" James sighed. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," he mumbled. "I love Sarah." The word love sounded like a death sentence. Emily closed her eyes as pain pierced her like a shard of glass. She remembered their wedding, Ethan's birth, their plans for the future, all shattered in an instant. "What about the mortgage?" she asked, opening her eyes. "What about the debts? Have you even thought about how we'll survive?" James shrugged. "I'll help," he promised. "I'll send money." Emily gave a bitter laugh. She didn't believe a word. She knew Sarah would drain him, leaving nothing for their family. "Just go," she said, turning away. "Just leave." Without another word, James left. Emily stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, burning her cheeks. She sobbed like a child who'd lost a favorite toy, crying for her broken family, shattered dreams, and lost love. How would she tell Ethan? How could she explain to her son, who adored his father, that Dad no longer lived with them because he loved another woman? Emily walked to the living room. Ethan sat at the table doing homework. He looked up, his big brown eyes filled with worry. "Mom, what's wrong?" he asked, frowning. "Why are you crying?" Emily sat beside him and hugged him, unsure how to find the words. Dad left," she whispered, tears choking her. Ethan pulled back, staring at her in shock. "Where?" he asked. "To another woman," Emily replied, trying to sound calm. Ethan's face twisted with pain and confusion. He stared at a point in the distance, then bolted from the table and ran to his room. Emily heard his door slam. After James left, life became a crushing burden for Emily. Bills, groceries, utilities, it all weighed on her. She took night shifts at the hospital to make ends meet, working herself to exhaustion, neglecting her health and needs. Ethan withdrew, no longer smiling or sharing his feelings, as if he'd built a wall between them. Emily felt his pain, but didn't know how to reach him. One day, returning from a night shift, Emily found a note from Ethan on the table. "Mom, I love you. I'll try to help." Tears welled up again. She knew it wasn't easy for him either. He was just a child, trying his best. The only bright spot in her dark world was her neighbor, Margaret, a kind and wise woman who offered comfort and support. Margaret visited every evening, bringing tea and pastries, listening to Emily's struggles and offering advice. "Don't give up, Emily," Margaret would say, patting her hand. "Life is like a zebra. After a dark stripe, a bright one always follows." Emily listened and believed, believed things would get better, that she could overcome the challenges, that she could give Ethan a decent future. A few days later, Ethan startled Emily with a cryptic remark. "Mom, I got revenge on Dad," he said as she stirred soup on the stove. Emily froze. "Revenge? What does that mean?" She turned to her son, who sat at the kitchen table, engrossed in a textbook. His face was focused, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of excitement. "Revenge, Ethan? What did you do?" she asked softly, hiding her growing unease. Ethan looked up, his gaze a strange mix of pride and guilt. "You saw how he treated you, how you cried at night. I couldn't just let it go," he muttered, looking away. Emily sat beside him, taking his hand. Her heart raced. Had Ethan done something reckless? "Ethan, listen to me. Revenge isn't the answer. It only breeds more harm. What did you do? Please tell me," she pleaded. Ethan hesitated, biting his lip. "Don't worry, Mom. I got into his computer and sent something to someone," he mumbled. "Sent what? To whom?" Emily felt panic rising. "There were some documents about money. You know Dad was always into his deals. I thought if I scared him, he'd feel ashamed and come back," Ethan explained, looking at her with hope. Emily recoiled in horror. "Ethan!" she exclaimed, trying not to raise her voice. He frowned. "I just wanted to help you, to make him come back," he protested. "Sweetie, you can't help like that. You should have talked to me first. Now we don't know what the consequences will be," she said, her legs trembling. She knew she had to stay calm and figure things out, but her heart was pounding. "Let's not talk about it now. I need time to think," Emily said, standing. "Please, don't do anything else without talking to me." Ethan nodded, head lowered, clearly feeling guilty. Emily turned to the window. The sun shone outside, but a storm raged in her soul. She didn't know what to do or how to protect Ethan and herself from the fallout. That evening, Emily sat with Ethan and took his hand. "Ethan, I need to know exactly what you sent to your father and to whom." "It's important," she said gently. Ethan sighed, looking guilty. "I found some files in Dad's work folder, numbers, charts. I didn't really understand them, but I thought there might be something bad. I sent them to emails in his contacts, including his boss," he admitted. Emily closed her eyes. It was worse than she'd feared. Sending incriminating files to James's boss was a surefire way to ruin his career. "Ethan, do you realize you might have destroyed your father's life?" she asked, struggling to contain her anger. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean to," he cried. Emily hugged him, holding him close. She knew he only wanted to help, but his naive act could have catastrophic consequences. That night, Emily couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, replaying the events. She felt trapped. She was furious at James for his betrayal, yet she didn't want Ethan to suffer for his actions, or for James to lose everything, despite the pain he'd caused, but she felt powerless. The next day, Margaret came over with a freshly baked pie and sat with Emily on the couch. "What's wrong, Emily?" she asked. Emily poured out the story, and Margaret listened, stroking her hand. "It's a tough situation," Margaret said when Emily finished. "But don't despair. Ethan acted like a child. He didn't know what he was doing. And James, he brought this on himself. You can't build happiness on someone else's pain." "But I don't want him to suffer because of this," Emily exclaimed. "You can't take responsibility for others' actions," Margaret replied. "James chose his path. As for Ethan, explain that revenge isn't the answer, but don't blame him too harshly. He just wanted to protect you." A week later, James called Emily, his voice thick with tears and despair. "Emily, it's me," he whispered, lacking the confidence he once had when he announced he was leaving. "I'm in a bad place." Emily's heart froze. She didn't want to hear his problems. She had enough of her own. But a flicker of long-forgotten pity made her listen. "What happened?" she asked coldly, holding herself together. "It all came out," James choked out. "They fired me, Emily. I lost my job, my money, everything. My name's ruined. Everyone knows what I did." His voice broke. Emily felt nausea rising. "And that's not all," he continued, oblivious to her silence. "Sarah left me. She packed her things and said she didn't need a loser with debts." Emily wasn't surprised. She never believed Sarah's feelings were genuine, just a facade hiding emptiness. But she wasn't here to gloat. "James, what do you want from me?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. There was a long pause, as if James was gathering his courage. "Help me, Emily, please. I know I messed up. I ruined everything, but I don't know what to do. I'm desperate. Help me figure this out." Emily closed her eyes. He was asking for her help after all the pain he'd caused her and Ethan. Did he really think she'd agree? Memories of the past weeks flooded her mind, her sleepless nights, her fear for the future, her worry for Ethan. It was all his fault, and now he wanted her help. "No, James," she said, her voice firm, devoid of anger or pity. "I can't help you. I won't help you. You made your choice. You destroyed your life. Now you have to take responsibility for it." "But Emily," James began, but she cut him off. "Goodbye, James. Don't call me again." She hung up, tossing the phone aside. Her hands shook, and she felt drained, as if she'd just finished a grueling task. She pitied James, but that pity couldn't outweigh the pain he'd inflicted. She couldn't let him back into her life to destroy what little she had left. That evening, when Ethan came home from school, Emily decided to talk to him. "How was school?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Ethan shrugged, avoiding her gaze, clearly still feeling guilty. "Dad called today," she said, watching his reaction. Ethan flinched, but stayed silent. "He got fired," she continued. Ethan looked down. "I feel bad," he said quietly. "I know you wanted to help," Emily whispered, stroking his hair. "But our actions have consequences we don't always foresee. You're not to blame for what happened. Your father made his own choices. You just wanted to protect me." Ethan cried on her shoulder. Emily knew he needed time to process everything, but she was there to support him through this difficult time. That night, Emily fell asleep thinking about her life. She realized she had to move forward, to start anew. She vowed to do everything possible to find happiness and give Ethan a bright future. James, having lost everything, tried desperately to win his family back. He showed up several times, disheveled, his eyes lifeless, saying Sarah wasn't who she seemed and that his job was all that kept him afloat. Now, he was nothing. Emily listened, looking at his pitiful state, but her heart had no room for pity, only exhaustion and a firm resolve that the past was gone for good. "James, you can't undo what's done," she told him calmly. "You made your choice. You destroyed our family. I can't trust you anymore, and I don't want to." Ethan, watching these scenes from afar, felt torn. He pitied his father, seeing his suffering, but he remembered his mother's tears, her sleepless nights, her despair. He knew she was right. Forgiving was impossible. Emily rebuilt her life, refusing to look back. She knew the road ahead would be long and hard, but she was ready. She was no longer the weak, lost woman she'd been months ago. Ironically, James's betrayal had made her stronger. With Margaret's and her colleagues' support, Emily began taking private medical jobs, small gigs like injections, dressings, and consultations. After work, she visited patients, tired but satisfied, earning a bit more. Margaret helped immensely, watching Ethan when Emily was out. "Don't give up, Emily," she'd say. "You're strong. You'll make it. Just believe in yourself." Colleagues recommended her to others, shared expertise, and helped find equipment. Emily felt she wasn't alone. She had people who cared. Her client base grew, and Emily dreamed of opening her own medical office. But where would she get money for rent, equipment, or advertising? She didn't give up, saving every penny, taking extra shifts, and researching small businesses. One day, sharing her dream with Margaret, Emily admitted, "I want to open my own office, but I don't know how. I don't have the money." Margaret listened and said, "Emily, think about what you do have. You have knowledge, experience, and healing hands. Money will come. Just start." Inspired, Emily took a risk. She used her savings to rent a small space. It needed work, but she wasn't deterred. She painted the walls, laid linoleum, and installed plumbing herself. Colleagues donated an old medical table and a physiotherapy device. Margaret gave her plants for a cozy atmosphere. It was a small, clean, bright space with everything needed for basic care. Emily hung a sign, "Medical Office." She felt proud and happy. She'd overcome the odds and started anew. Her first patients came through referrals, praising her professionalism and compassion. Emily healed not just bodies but souls. Word spread, and soon people from the neighborhood sought her help for everything from colds to chronic conditions. She never turned anyone away, working tirelessly. Her finances stabilized, allowing her to send Ethan to summer camp. She no longer felt poor or helpless. She'd gained independence and confidence. Emily and Ethan rebuilt their lives, realizing James's betrayal had sparked a happier path. They grew closer, valuing what they had. Ethan was proud of his mother, seeing her strength and how she helped others. She was his hero. James called occasionally, but Emily stopped answering. She didn't want to dwell on the past. She lived in the present, dreaming of the future. One day, walking with Ethan in the park, she saw James sitting alone on a bench, looking older and defeated. He glanced at her, but she looked away. She had nothing to say. Smiling at Ethan, who returned her smile, they held hands and walked on toward their